It's he's a MAGA person, but it's make Argentina great again. That's what he does, right? And I want you to stand, please, Javier Milei, doing a great job. Thank you very much. Many members of my cabinet are here, just about all of them are here. I won't go into every single one of them, but I'll announce a few of the people that have really turned this country around and helped me. Incredible people. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Where is Mike? Mike, what a job you're doing, Mike. What a job you're doing. And I watched you this morning, and you're in there trying to say, look, just let the country open. Everything will be fine. We're dealing with some radical left lunatics. And I just wish Charlie was here to fight us. I think the fight would have been over already. He would have had a march on the Capitol by people whose average age is about 21, because there's nobody that had that relationship with young people. Right, Mike? So thank you, Mike, for being here. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Steve, thank you very much. A brave guy and a friend. House Majority Whip, another terrific man, Tom Emmer. Thank you, Tom. Senate Majority Whip, John Barrasso. John, thank you very much. You have all these senators. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not going to read all their names. I'll be reading all day. We'll be talking about Charlie in about 45 minutes from now. We can't do that. So all of the senators, there's so many of you, thank you very much. I do want to thank Senator Thune for doing a terrific job. He's really been leading properly. Do you agree, Mike? The team, the two of these guys have been fantastic. So to Senator Thune, I want to thank you very much. Incredible job. I watched him this morning, and he was out there pounding him this morning on television too. And John Barrasso, thank you for the work you've done, and congratulations on your success. But I want to thank you all and all of the Congress people that are here. And I see we have our Attorney General here, and you are doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Pam. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have everybody. Wow, that's incredible. Okay, I'm not going to do any more. I'm going to be here too long, but I just want to thank you. Have given him such support, but he always gave you such support. That's why you're here. And very unusual. Charles James Kirk was a visionary and one of the greatest figures of his generation. He was truly an amazing figure and growing leaps and bounds. He knew that the fight to preserve our heritage is waged not only on the battlefield and in the halls of power, of which we have tremendous power here, including the head of a place called war. We call it now war. We had defense. We had our Secretary of Defense. Now we have a Secretary of War. And somehow I think it's more emblematic, and hopefully we'll never have to use war. But the fact that we're ready is very good. Peace through strength is very important, but also in the hearts of our nation's youth. That's where Charlie rode strongest. At age 18, that insight inspired Charlie to found the organization that ultimately touched the lives of millions and millions of people, and so many young people that nobody's ever, frankly. Turning Point USA. It's amazing. And it's actually bigger now. It's become bigger in the last few weeks than Charlie ever thought. I think his end vision in many years from now would have been just a fraction of what it turned out to be in a couple of weeks, right? It's amazing. With hard work and joyful spirit and endless enthusiasm and determination. And he did have great enthusiasm. You know, I always say he's a conservative youth organization in the entire country. He forged a personal bond with countless young conservatives. He fought for free speech, religious liberty, strong borders, and a very strong and proud America. In everything he did, he put America first. He really put America first. And ultimately, Charlie became more than a leader of an important organization. He became the leader of historic movements all over the country, the individual movement, but it was historic. Everything he did was historic, and a true evangelist for the cause of freedom and the word of Almighty God. God was very important to Charlie. he would say, you know, if you don't have religion, you're not going to have a strong country. It's true. He was so wise beyond his years. You know, I talk to him sometimes and say, this guy is like a young guy. He was really a wise man. From the time Charlie worked on my presidential campaign in 2016, and he was there right from the beginning. He liked me. I don't know. What the hell was he thinking? He said, you're going to win, sir. I said, you know, I'm running against 17 senators and a lot of tough people and governors. We have all these people. And he said, no, you're going to win, sir. He said, not going to be close. And he made it happen. He helped make it happen. I'll tell you that. Knows what would be. Maybe you'd have Kamala standing here today. That would not be good. I will tell you, Javier, you don't know who Kamala is. Promise. It would not be good. You agree with that, Howard? He also mobilized countless citizens to go vote. It's called Go Vote. Very simple. And with his help in 2024, we won more young people than any Republican by far in the history of our country. And we won the popular vote. Of them, remember, they said, oh, well, if Trump could win 4, that would be nice. I win 7 by a lot, by a landslide. But the popular vote was massive. And we won the Electoral College. Remember, very hard. I'd say 270. Well, we got 312 to 226. And then we won something called districts and councils and different things. But in the case we won 2,750 to 525. That's the one where you see the map is almost entirely red, except they have a little blue line on one side and a little blue line. New York and a little bit Los Angeles. I have a feeling that if the vote were 100%, we would have won that too. You want to know the truth. But he knew, and he knew very well, and he also understood honesty, and he was always concerned with honesty. He said the only way we can lose is if the cheating gets so bad, and that's where we came up with a little phrase, too big to rig. We said, go out and vote. Just go out and vote. And we had that. Remember, we used to say that all the time because people would say, oh, they're going to win. We don't have to vote. Let's go to a movie. We'll come home and watch later. And he wasn't about that. So we come up with really together, we came up with that phrase. We got to make it too big. I never made a speech where I didn't say at the end, now look, the polls are showing good. Don't believe the polls. He said, we're going to make it, Susie, right? Too big to rig. So if you think we're going to win by a lot, doesn't matter. Pretend we're losing. You got to go out and vote. They voted. And at 9:02, the whole thing was over, right? 9:02. Remember they said, oh, this could go a few days. Well, went a few minutes. 9:02. And he knew that. And I felt it, but he knew it. He knew it. I think he knew it more than anybody. But Charlie never missed an opportunity to remind us of the Judeo-Christian principles of our nation's founding or to share his deep Christian faith. In his final moments, Charlie testified to the greatness of America and to the glory of our Savior, with whom he now rests in heaven. And he's going to make heaven. I said, I'm not sure I can make it, but he's going to make it. He's there. He's looking down on us right now. It's so incredible. Look at this. How this turned out. This was supposed to be so dark and cloudy. Not dark and cloudy, is it? Look at that, how beautiful that is. There's no artist that can capture it as beautiful as it is today. Wow, it's amazing. As I said, on the day that he was assassinated, Charlie Kirk was a martyr for truth and for freedom. And from Socrates to think, and to St. Peter, from Abraham Lincoln to Martin Luther King, those who change history the most, and he really did, have always risked their lives for causes they were put on earth to defend. He was put on earth to do exactly what he was doing. He didn't want to waste time. He would have been a top student at any college in the country. I know the college as well. He's smarter than the guys there. He was so smart. But he almost, I guess, didn't have the time. He knew what he wanted to do. It wasn't like, gee, I want to sit in the classroom for 4 years listening to people teach me liberal principles, because they were never going to teach him that anyway. But he didn't have the time. He really didn't have the time. But every time the enemies of goodness and virtue tried to silence the voice of righteous and noble leaders like Charlie, they failed. They seem to fail. Ultimately, they look like they're doing well, and then they
This has been breaking news on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Several news organizations bucking today's deadline to accept new restrictions governing Pentagon coverage.
The Associated Press, Reuters, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic, and Newsmax all say they will not sign a Defense Department document outlining new press rules. Those rules declared large swaths of the Pentagon off limits to reporters. They also state Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth can revoke access to reporters who ask anyone in the Defense Department for information, classified or otherwise, that he has not approved for release. Hegseth's team has said reporters who don't acknowledge the policy in writing by Tuesday must turn in their press badges. Ben Thomas, Washington.
The head of the Federal Reserve is hinting at more interest rate cuts.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that a sharp slowdown in hiring poses a growing risk to the U.S. economy. And he said the outlook for employment and inflation does not appear to have changed much since the September meeting. Those comments suggest that the Fed could cut its key interest rate twice more this year.
That's Greg Cluxon reporting. The latest turn in the trade tango between the U.S. and China, reciprocal port fees taking effect today. At the same time, China calling for President Trump to back off on his new tariff threats.
A statement from China's Commerce Ministry said that the U.S. can't demand talks while imposing its own restrictive measures with threats and intimidation. However, it also said that despite this, communication had been maintained with working-level talks taking place yesterday. This followed claims over the weekend from U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer that Beijing was blocking contact after China introduced new restrictions on the export of rare earths and magnets, crucial in the production of electronic goods. From today, the U.S. and China will start charging extra port fees on one another.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Dinesh D'Souza went into a war zone to make his new film, revealing never-before-seen footage of October 7th. The film offers a new way to understand Israel, radical Islam, anti-Semitism, and biblical prophecy.
Could the fate of the world be tied to this place?
The Dragon's Prophecy, based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller. Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. That's salemnow.com.
I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but gold has increased over 80% in the past 2 years. So if you think stuffing money under your mattress is your retirement plan, well, good luck with that. When you call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD, we'll send you a free gold kit that explains how rolling over your IRA into gold could not only supercharge your retirement, but maybe even help preserve your sanity. When's the last time you ever heard someone say, "Hey, sell all your gold"? Always consult with your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another mild but above normal night, low down to 61, and then a warm and above normal day, a high of 84 degrees as the warm and dry pattern continues. Partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy at times, but generally partly cloudy Wednesday and staying dry. Thursday, more sunshine, dry and warm again with a high of 83. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
all the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Yes, it's him. He got me out. He got the hostages out. Before, we felt like nothing is happening, you know? They were very scared of him. Yeah, they wanted...
Who?
Terrorists.
We're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, they wanted Kamala to be chosen, to be elected.
You talked politics with them?
Yeah. They wanted Kamala to be elected. But as soon as Donald Trump was elected, they understood that he wants to bring the hostages back home. So immediately, the way they treated me changed. More food, treated me better. You know, stopped cursing me, stopped spitting on me.
That was one of the recently freed 20 hostages commenting on Hamas's political opinions and how he was treated once Donald Trump was elected president last November. As we continue to slice and dissect everything that's coming out of the Middle East, Donald Trump back here on the home front doing a ceremony right now, Chris, in the Rose Garden to honor Charlie Kirk with the highest civilian honor.
And we're watching the president now live on Newsmax. And I've noticed that he's not dyeing his hair blonde anymore. He's letting the gray highlights come out, it seems, which is a good look for the president. But he signaled a few weeks ago after Charlie Kirk was assassinated that he was going to award Charlie Kirk to his widow the highest civilian award, the Medal of Honor, which is well-deserved. He has done a lot for this country, especially bringing the youth, having them engaged in politics. The left is going to pull their hair out over him receiving this honor, of course, but president doesn't care, and it's a well-deserved honor.
Mm-hmm. We will continue to monitor this, and when Charlie Kirk's widow is brought forth, when Erica Kirk is brought forth to receive the Medal of Honor, we will try to go to that if we're not in the middle of an interview or in the middle of a break. So we're monitoring that right now. The president, maybe a little jet lagged, covering a lot of different topics here in the Rose Garden today. But can you blame a guy who was literally in Israel and Egypt about 24 hours ago? It's amazing the schedule that this 80-year-old keeps. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, he does keep a very tiring schedule for the most of us. But I will say, after traveling overseas and sitting in the back of the plane in coach, it's not very comfortable. But I'm sure the surroundings in the Air Force One are a lot more comfortable than flying commercial. I'm sure he can rest and sleep in the bed. But he has tremendous stamina for an 80-year-old. That is no doubt, especially after we've seen for the last 4 years a president who was basically walking around brain dead.
Indeed, for sure. And President Trump doesn't sleep much to begin with, apparently. So maybe overseas travel doesn't affect him like it does the rest of us who need 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. We'll continue to monitor that, and we will prepare for David Stokes joining us on a very busy news day this afternoon here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Yep, this is 101.9. 94.1 News Talk STL. We have some breaking news coming out of the city of St. Louis regarding the more embattled today than he has been yesterday. Alfred Montgomery, Chris, taken into custody by the feds, I believe, for all of the charges that have been levied against him.
Yeah, and of course, when he speaks to the media and to his supporters, he'll say, of course, it's racism because he's black and he's 27 years old. That's why he's being taken into custody. But, you know, these were serious charges that were leveled against him. As we've learned, the sheriff's office doesn't really have a whole lot of power. They basically are in charge of security of the courthouse and transporting prisoners. No one told Mr. Montgomery that, unfortunately. He tried to conduct his own investigation of a jail situation, ended up putting someone in custody. You know, we've talked also about him buying the $80,000 or $90,000 new SUV as soon as he got into office, other charges as well. So, of course, he's innocent until proven guilty, but there are a lot of serious charges against him.
Federal district court judge basically remanded Sheriff Montgomery after a hearing today because there has been probable cause established alleging that the sheriff committed various felonies while the other charges were pending. So he's got charges upon charges upon charges, and the federal felonies are probably the most serious that he will likely be facing the most punishment for. An interim sheriff has been named in the meantime.
So I want to ask you this, Tim, you're an attorney. Is he eligible for bail? Can he be bonded out? Or is this something that he has to stay in jail until his trial? And why wouldn't he receive at least a bond hearing?
I guess that's probably next. So the only information I have right now is there was a hearing today. The hearing was regarding additional felonies that Montgomery was alleged to have committed while on bond.
Yeah.
So see, here's the problem. He already was on bond.
Oh, okay.
And then the allegation is he committed more crimes. So when that happens, basically your bond can be forfeited. Now he can apply, his attorneys, yes, to answer your question, his attorneys can absolutely apply for a new bond level to be set or a new bond to be ordered. So that is very possible. But it seems that Sheriff Montgomery's problems are multiplying and not getting fewer.
Yeah, and, you know, I can't see him as a flight risk. I would see him probably getting another bond, but I would assume that it's going to be much higher than his current bond and, you know, put a little financial hardship on him.
Indeed. He is currently represented by, let's see, he is currently represented by Justin Gelfand. I do not know that attorney, Justin Gelfand. And the interim sheriff will be Colonel Yusuf Yasharallah, who will now lead the sheriff's office as the interim sheriff while all of this mess is being sorted out by the judicial system.
Yeah. And this is one of these situations. I've been in politics for a long time and have seen this, that I'm sure that the attorney general and the feds have probably offered him some type of deal that will go lenient on you if you resign. That's the main thing that they want you to do if you are in office. They want you to resign that office, and then they will talk to you about a deal. I think with him being recalcitrant, I think that's why you're seeing this hard duty thing against him. He should resign, do the honorable thing. He was in over his head, and resign and save yourself some time and some money.
So apparently, while out on bond, Sheriff Montgomery was alleged to have been tampering with witnesses, calling them and using a burner phone to do so. And the judge said he would have loved to have kept Montgomery out of jail, but he did not know how to prevent Montgomery from doing the same thing all over again. So in order to stop him from tampering with witnesses, the judge said, I'm putting him in prison. All right, we're going to go to the live feed from the Rose Garden at the White House. Erica Kirk has taken the stand and is receiving the Medal of Honor on behalf of her late husband, Charlie Kirk.
And that's something that both of you shared. So thank you. Your support of our family and the work that Charlie devoted his life to will be something I cherish forever. So thank you. To our gracious First Lady in her office for making this event possible. Thank you as well. It's beautiful. To Vice President and the lovely Usha fans, Your friendship has been an unbelievable encouragement. Thank you. And to all our friends and family that are here and watching from all around the world, thank you for loving us. Thank you for praying for us and for believing in what Charlie believed in. And to our Turning Point USA staff and the Charlie Kirk Show staff, we love you more than you could ever know. And to the Turning Point USA chapters that are watching all across America right now, you are the heartbeat of this future and of this movement. Everything that Charlie built, you guys are the legacy holders of that. You are living proof that his mission did not die with him. It lives through you. And Charlie always said the next generation will decide whether freedom endures. And because of you, I know that freedom will endure. It will. And today we're gathered not only to celebrate Charlie's birthday, but to honor a truth that he gave his entire life to defend, and that's freedom. The very existence of the Presidential Medal of Freedom reminds us that the national interest of the United States has always been freedom. Our founders etched it into the preamble of our Constitution, and those words are not relics on parchment. They are a living covenant. The blessings of liberty are not man's invention, they are God's endowment. Charlie lived for those blessings, not as abstract words, but as sacred promises. He used to love to journal about this topic all the time, and with such a heart postured of gratitude. And he believed that liberty was both a right and a responsibility. And he used to say, freedom is the ability to do what is right without fear. And that's how he lived. He was free from fear. He was free from compromise, free from anything that could enslave his soul. His name, Charles, literally means free man. And that's exactly who my husband was. He was a free man. And from the time I met him, sitting across from him, being interviewed on politics and philosophy and theology, anything that Charlie loved, any topic he loved. And I just saw the fire in his soul. And there was this divine restlessness within him that came from knowing God placed him on this earth to protect something very, very sacred for all of us. And he never stopped fighting for people to experience freedom. He didn't. Charlie often said that without God, freedom becomes chaos. And he believed liberty could only survive when anchored to truth. And I remember in one of his speeches, he told the audience that the opposite of liberty isn't law. He said it's captivity. And that the freest people in the world are those whose hearts belong to Christ. But what's so powerful is that Charlie had the ability to communicate so brilliantly across all generations. And he reminded us that in a world that tells us freedom is, doing whatever you want to do, the real freedom is the power to live freely and to do what is right. And in one of his journal entries, he wrote that he wanted everyone to know that you can't have liberty without moral responsibility. Freedom divorced from faith eventually just destroys itself. And what's so fascinating about all of this is looking back these past 12 years of Turning Point USA and his mission, there's almost this veil of sacredness. Because what I realized is that while he was building an organization, he was also building a movement, one that called people back to God, back to truth, and a movement that was filled with courage. And ironically, for a man who impacted millions, Charlie never desired to be the center of attention. He just wasn't. My husband was not a man of extravagance. He loved simple but deeply meaningful things. Truly. He loved his late night walks. He loved buying more books than he could ever read because he felt there was no such thing as a book budget. And he loved being able to read to our kids the same bedtime story on repeat because he knew it was their favorite. But to him, that was special. And he loved to sit in the sun on a Saturday morning with his cup of decaf coffee, and his phone was off because he was honoring the Sabbath. And for him, it was that moment to catch his breath and just be in peace because he was unreachable at the moment. And he preferred quiet birthdays. But that never stopped me from telling him. I told him every single year, I said, baby, I love your birthday. I said, because it's the day that God knew the world couldn't go another day without you. And so the rhythm of our usual birthday celebration for him was mint ice cream, mint chocolate chip ice cream. He only had it twice a year, on his birthday and 4th of July. It's just, and then after that, it was back to work as usual. But last year, his one birthday wish was to see the Oregon Ducks play the Ohio State. And they won. Oregon won that night. And it was by far one of the most memorable nights of his birthday experience of his life until today. And so, honestly, President Trump, I have spent 7.5 years trying to find the perfect birthday gift for Charlie. And it's so difficult. And those of you that have spouses or loved ones, you know how difficult it is sometimes to buy a gift for someone that you love, because he wasn't a materialistic man. So that also did not help. But now I can say with confidence, Mr. President, that you have given him the best birthday gift he could ever have.
And that is Erica Kirk at the White House in the Rose Garden with President Trump over her right shoulder, accepting the highest civilian honor, the Medal of Freedom, for her late husband, Charlie. And Chris, I heard an interview earlier today where someone who is very close with the family was talking about the fact that Erica Kirk said recently that she whipsaws back and forth every single day between agonizing grief, as you could hear, and overwhelming joy at the legacy that Charlie leaves behind. And that's the world that she lives in every single day.
Yeah, it seems like the event was an eternity ago, his assassination, but it only was, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. It's still very fresh in everyone's minds. And, I didn't know today was his birthday. I know that the president announced after his assassination that he was going to receive the Medal of Honor. And I was kind of wondering, what are they waiting on? Why is it taking so long? And now we know that he wanted to award it to his widow on his birthday. And it just really just brings to mind just how young he was. He would have been 32 years old today. I have a daughter that's 31. And that really puts it in perspective that he didn't live a very long life, but he put a lot of years into that, packed a lot of years into that life, and made a tremendous impact on so many people's lives.
An amazing life well lived that impacted and continues to impact millions and millions of people around the globe. We're going to take a brief break here, step aside for just a moment. And when we come back, we'll speak with David Stokes about all of the local and regional issues of the day. This is the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Who's gonna drive you home tonight? You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another mild but above normal night, low down to 61, and then a warm and above normal day, a high of 84 degrees as the warm and dry pattern continues. partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy at times, but generally partly cloudy Wednesday and staying dry. Thursday, more sunshine, dry and warm again with a high of 83. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, opinion.
Whether intentional or not, it is dangerous and unacceptable.
The Russian drone entered Romanian airspace.
You saw NATO respond to it appropriately.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You know, we're getting into the later parts of fall, and winter will be here very soon. You know, it'd be a great time to get your windows cleaned. If sparkling clean windows are on your to-do list, and they should, let me give you a personal recommendation. My wife and I, we recently had our windows cleaned by STL Windows and Doors, new window cleaning service, and the results were incredible. This isn't your average spray and wipe job. They use triple filtered, ultra pure water that's so clean you can't even drink it. Why? Because it pulls out minerals that normally cause streaks and spots. The result, crystal clear windows, guaranteed streak free. And our windows 8 weeks later are still streak free. I guarantee that. I tell you, that's the truth. They handle both residential and commercial jobs up to 2 stories. For an average home, the team takes about 4 to 6 hours, and they just don't clean the glass. They also clean and inspect your screens, and they'll even rescreen if needed. You can even get on a regular schedule, and most homeowners do twice a year to keep their windows looking brand new. And of course, STL Windows and Doors is still the trusted family-owned company for new window and door installations here in the St. Louis Metro. Call today for your free estimate at 314-227-5952 or visit them on their website at stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, and Monocle's Pizza.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
You and I might have something in common, back pain. I can tell you where I go for help, Esquire Sports Medicine, the spine of St. Louis. They can put athletes back on the field so they can clearly help us. Esquire Sports Medicine, hands-on chiropractic help on Big Bend, just north of Highway 40, 314-644-0885, EsquireSportsMedicine.com, EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
I was searching on a one-way street. I was hoping for a chance to meet. I was waiting for the
St. Louis Sheriff Alfred Montgomery is going to jail. After the judge told Sheriff Montgomery, you're being charged with a federal misdemeanor, you cannot have any contact with witnesses or victims in this case. Montgomery went out, obtained a burner phone, then used that phone to make those comments where he mentioned wanting to take adversarial employment action against some of the different witnesses he thought were, quote, snakes. And one other stunning confession here. We know that Sheriff Montgomery's own lawyers confessed in court that if he is sent to jail, it's hard, if not impossible, for him to continue in his role as sheriff.
429 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, there is a very popular phrase that I think fits perfectly in this situation. And that is, you just can't fix stupid.
That's probably a great way to maybe sum it all up at this point in time.
Let's see what our good friend David Stokes thinks about this and much more.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute in high school. You talk about spike. I had a very short spike. It was
I
like
knew
this.
there's a spike somewhere in that
It
stuff.
wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
David, welcome to the show. I'll go ahead and give your disclaimer for you. You are not an attorney, and you don't play one on the radio, but would you like to give your personal thoughts on the situation with our embattled sheriff and the black eye that this is giving the city of St. Louis?
I mean, well, what? I mean, he's the sheriff. He's a law enforcement official, and city sheriffs are indeed law enforcement officials. And he's buying burner phones to threaten witnesses from jail. I mean, it's like it's crazy. And if the state learned one thing from the Kim Gardner saga, it's that. And I'm not criticizing state officials at all, but upon reflection, they probably should have moved a little bit quicker to remove her from office. And it's good that they clearly learned that lesson, and people in city government too, with this Sheriff Montgomery, who's been such a disaster. But everybody has moved quickly and properly in removing him from office, and he is, of course, assisting them as best he can by doing idiotic things like buying a burner phone and contacting witnesses when he knows he's not allowed to do any of that, and that he would go to jail if he did. And that he should be aware, as a sheriff, that they sort of track your activities when you're out on a bail or whatever it may be. So just excellent to see state officials moving so quickly, and most city officials as well calling for his resignation. I mean, he's just a disaster, and the sooner he's out of office, the better. And it appears that he'll be out of office soon.
Well, David, maybe not as salacious, but perhaps equally interesting is a proposal by City of St. Louis lawmakers, alderman folks, to extend the Cortex Innovation District's eminent domain powers. David, would you remind our listeners, what is Cortex and why do they need eminent domain power in the first place? And then why do they need it for another 5 years?
Well, the Cortex is the very large, scientific development, real estate development company. They have an enormous number of various scientific and tech companies in the areas just east of the enormous Barnes Jewish Hospital complex, roughly along the Forest Park Parkway, between SLU and Barnes Hospital. And I'm not a fan of the enormous tax subsidies they've received over the many years, but I don't think anybody would dispute the tax subsidies aside, which are unnecessary, the success generally of the Cortex development up here. But one of the things in developing that part of Midtown / the Central West End that they had is eminent domain power, which is wrong. They should not have eminent domain power, and it's up for an extension. And I'm going to read from the Business Journal article on this, an exact quote, which I don't usually do, but I want to get the wording just right, and it's short, as to why this is so frightening. And I'm reading here, this is agents of Cortex explaining why they need it, and quote, if Cortex wanted to continue making space for more companies, and this is in reference to a storage facility near the Cortex on the Forest Park Parkway, it could prove useful to maintain eminent domain powers in any negotiations with the storage firm, the Cortex spokesman said. And that's really the frightening part here. They want to potentially negotiate to purchase this private storage business, which is serving needs and paying taxes and employing people in the city of St. Louis. But Cortex, it says, if they want that land, they want to be able to seize it through eminent domain, or just threaten to seize it via eminent domain, which would give Cortex the upper hand in negotiations with the company. And everything right there is all you need to know as to why they do not deserve eminent domain. No private sector actors like Cortex or anyone else deserves it. So it's a terrible idea. And this is, this was the type of thing states were supposed to put a stop to after the Supreme Court's infamous Kelo decision roughly 20 years ago. But apparently we still have it in St. Louis, where one private conglomerate in Cortex can want and can have and is getting it eminent domain powers to seize another company's land if they choose to. So it's a terrible idea.
David, how unusual?
Good.
Oh, go ahead.
Cortex is good, but this whole eminent domain aspect is terrible.
Until we started talking about this subject a few minutes ago, I'd never in my life heard of a private enterprise having the power of eminent domain like a government does. How unusual is that?
Well, I think it is unusual. After in the Kelo decision, what happened is that the government was using eminent domain to benefit private parties. And we have that all over the country, including in Missouri, where but usually it would be done under the name of a municipality or county or whomever to seize the land and then give it to the private party. So maybe it's a distinction without a difference. But here you have just a private actor in Cortex getting its own eminent domain authority, which is just completely inappropriate. And again, some might say, well, what's the difference between the city of St. Louis seizing it and then giving it to Cortex? And there'd be a point there. I would say they shouldn't be able to use eminent domain, whether you're a government or a private company, for private uses like this at all. But it's particularly bad, I think, when they just hand eminent domain authority over to another company. And I would hope somebody would be able to sue on that if it comes to it, although I would imagine that's already happened. And I can't imagine everybody just surrendered to Cortex's eminent domain threats. According to the article in defense of Cortex, the article says it's been used very sparingly over the past couple decades since Cortex has been around, and that's good to hear. But it's totally unjustified to give them the upper hand in negotiation with any other private business.
David, moving out a little further to the west, we have an apartment plan, and maybe Chris should ask this question. It's in his backyard. U-City, proposal to build apartments on a rare forested plot faces resistance after a city panel said it could worsen flooding. I think we've talked about this recently. David, do you have an update for us?
And don't forget, David is a U-City resident as well.
Oh, both of you guys. Okay, what's going on in your backyards there, David Stokes, with this apartment complex?
Well, it is interesting because I do think this is quite close to Chris's house.
It is.
Now, it's not that far from, we don't live that far apart, so it's not that far from me either.
You live in the wealthier section, David, than I do. Much wealthier section.
We did talk about this a couple weeks ago, and it's sort of a forested part of U-City there that a developer wants to put townhomes in, and that's a wonderful thing. As I've read more about it, including a pretty good Post-Dispatch story on it here, it points out that, one of the concerns, there are people who want to stop it for a number of reasons. I want it to go forward for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons that people are opposed to it does have some legitimacy to it, and that's that it's apparently along the River des Peres, and that part of University City absolutely does have flooding issues and has serious flooding issues. So they apparently asked the developer to provide more flood data and water data to justify it, and apparently it was not provided at all, if I'm understanding the story correctly. That is a very legitimate concern. If you suddenly pave over all that, if there's evidence that paving over all that land and that's in a floodplain, and you're just going to move that water onto existing homes and residents, that's a very legitimate concern, and one that's a good concern, whether it's University City or along a big river or along a stream out in St. Charles County, wherever it may be. If it truly is about legitimate flood concerns, then it is up to the developer to demonstrate that that's not a concern, or I would have to agree with the city that forcing a reduction in the size of the development or stopping it in this case could be legitimate. Flooding concerns are real. Somebody was killed in flooding in University City. I guess that was about a little over 5, 6, 7 years ago, along that same watershed. So it is a legitimate issue, and it'll be interesting to see if the developer can provide more information and if the city can get more information. I'd love to see it go forward. We need more infill housing, nice townhomes in our inner suburbs to give people the type of choices that homeowners and residents want. But it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward, because if the flooding damage is real, then perhaps these woods do need to be preserved.
Speaking with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, we know that population growth has been stagnant in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. Everyone seems to be moving out west to St. Charles County and beyond. Cottleville, which our late friend Sherman Parker represented Cottleville in his district, they are putting a moratorium on certain new housing projects. Is this a good or a bad thing? You think that a city would want to grow and increase their tax base?
You'd think they would, and I do not think this is a good thing, because this is not looking. Let's go back to that flooding issue that we just talked about in University City. While Cottleville will say this is about infrastructure, it's not about some type of flooding issue. Like, it's just general stopping of development. And I get it. You know, you want to plan for the sidewalks and the sewers and the roads and the like. But one of the ways you get funds to build those sidewalks and sewers and roads is by allowing development to happen and expanding your tax base. And too often we let, whether through tax subsidies or other ways, you know, if you have to make the developers build roads and the sewers and all that stuff themselves and stop giving away the tax subsidies so they don't have to do it, by all means, go ahead and do so. But I do agree with the Home Builders Association here that just a blanket moratorium on all new development in Cottleville, and it's my understanding it's not every new development per se, but it's ones that want to do sort of mixed use and have different allowances for various options, which are nice options. I mean, mixed use developments are good. So I think this goes way too far. There may be legitimate issues for certain places with sewage issues, or you just don't have the roads built yet in some spots, where halting development in certain areas of Cottleville temporarily would be acceptable, but a blanket citywide stoppage on it, I just think the Home Builders Association has an excellent point here, that you're going to drive developers out of that area into other parts of the county and cost that municipality in the long run. It's not and I don't care what happens to the city of Cottleville, but I do care about issues like when you stop the building of homes, you make homes, apartments, townhomes, whatever, more expensive for everybody else. And one of the advantages our region has, compared to anywhere around the country, is a low cost of living. And that is a very good thing. And the more development of like this you block, that's why I want that thing in University City to go forward if it's at all possible. You need to have these options and allowances for multiple housing options so that people can get affordable housing in our region. And I don't mean that as government mandated affordable housing. Like, I'm talking market oriented affordable housing, and we keep the cost of housing, apartments, and everything low for all. That's the way we win as a region.
And David, that's what I wanted to ask you. I can remember about 35 years ago in Blackjack, they were building low-income Section 8 apartments. They're still there. They were very nice. But residents, of course, were afraid that it was going to bring down housing prices. They were burnt down twice during the development. Is that what Cottleville is afraid of? Are developers looking to build Section 8 style housing there?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. There's any intention of going out and putting in intentional low income housing out there. Look, there's nothing wrong with developers choosing to build housing of all types. So I don't think it should be blocked just because they want to build something that lower income people can afford. I mean, we need a variety of housing throughout the region. But I'm not aware of any idea that there's an intentional plan for low income or Section 8 housing up there that would justify this. And I would say that the blocking of new housing in North County, whatever type it was, that wasn't a good idea. Like, they shouldn't have blocked it 35 years ago. They should have allowed markets to work. And I know people will say, well, Section 8, how's that a free market? It's a market when it's a government subsidy. Well, at least it's landlords and companies choosing to participate in that program or not, we need affordable housing for everybody. And the more chance you get people building it on their own instead of government mandates, that's a good thing.
David, before we wrap up, what's going on there at the Show Me Institute? You guys got any events coming up, sir?
Well, if you've got people listening online in the Springfield area, and I bet you do, I'm sure you do.
Yes.
We're having an event. My colleague Patrick Toohey, your regular Friday guest, is giving a talk on the hotel tax increase and the dream/delusions for a new taxpayer-funded convention center in Springfield. He's giving that talk tomorrow, and there's plenty of seats available for people who online in that Southwest Missouri who might want to go. Check it out at the events page at showmeinstitute.org. Also, we'll be releasing our annual blueprint for state legislative priorities of the Show Me Institute for the next legislative session. We'll be releasing that at a public event in a few weeks as well. That too is on the events page at our website.
That's David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, showmeinstitute.org, and on X, David C. Stokes. David, thank you as always. We'll speak with you next Tuesday.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always great talking with you guys. See you soon.
Thank you. All right, 445, Chris's Corner. Our old friend Robert Kulele at the Trafalgar Group, can't get it out of my mouth. He's got some new polling on the Virginia governors and AG race. Tim will tell you what those numbers are. And is there a love fest going on between President Trump and the media? We'll talk about that on Chris's Corner next on 1019 941 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another mild but above normal night, low down to 61, and then a warm and above normal day, a high of 84 degrees as the warm and dry pattern continues. Partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy at times, but generally partly cloudy Wednesday and staying dry. Thursday, more sunshine, dry and warm again with a high of 83. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Do not let these beautiful, almost feels like late summer, tinge of early fall days go to waste. Get everything cleaned up around your homestead or your business lickety split right now with Hanson's Tree Service. Yeah, give Chad Hanson and the gang at Hanson's a call. 636-379-1830. Available 24/7. Their website is, of course, at hansonstree.com. Hanson's provides expert insured tree care all over the metro St. Louis region. I'm talking on the Illinois side of the river, the Missouri side of the river, way out west, St. Charles and beyond, down south through Franklin and Jefferson counties. They service the region. No job too big or too small for Hanson's when it comes to basic or advanced tree care, green resource recycling, grinding, and land clearing. I had the Hanson gang out to my homestead a few weeks ago. I had cut down this tree a year or so ago, and I had to get the stump out of the ground. I don't have a stump grinder. They do. And man, I didn't realize they were there, except I saw the tree was gone. The stump was gone. And they cleaned up the whole area. They mulched it for me. It looks spectacular. I already got grass growing back there again. That's how good they are. They can take care of your home. They can take care of your country property. If you need some land cleared, they can take care of your business. They can take care of anything. Chad Hanson was called because they, the smart people know who to call. Chad Hanson was called when they had the huge storm a couple years ago, right? At the zoo. Remember all the stuff at the zoo that got that big giant trees. Hanson's took care of that, and they do so much more. Order mulch online. They have gorgeous organic mulch. You can apply for a hassle-free estimate, 6 months, same as cash financing for approved customers, make payments, and more. Top to bottom, soup to nuts. Get your trees and your shrubs and your bushes taken care of before the seasons change, which they're going to do any minute now, by getting a hold of Hanson's Tree Service. That's hansonstree.com, 24/7 at hansonstree.com.
Hey, folks, it's Jamie Allman here for the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. I love this team so much, and Rodney and Jen love the team so much, I became a member. So now I'm an agent with the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, and I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that we're going to get you into a home really super easily and with the lowest cost you're ever going to find, and make sure we find you that dream home. We're also going to list your home and get the top dollar for your home. I'm telling you, Rodney and Jen love this business. You can tell it is infectious, and I'm so happy to be a real estate agent there with them. 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD. Whether you are buying your home or selling your home, I'm telling you what, the costs are going to be absolutely totally minimal, but the professionalism and getting the job done for you is going to be 100%. The Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
All of the Arab states signing on to a peace deal with Israel. Now what happens?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Living like a lover with a red iPhone. Looking like a tramp, like a videogram. Demolition woman, can I be your man?
This morning, Cody Balmer, the man arrested for and charged with setting the Pennsylvania governor's mansion on fire back in April, pleaded guilty to all charges against him. The Dauphin County District Attorney's Office has released the shocking and disturbing surveillance video showing Balmer's actions on April 13th of this year. Balmer can be seen breaking a window with a sledgehammer and throwing a flaming Molotov cocktail into the residence, starting a fire. He's also seen breaking another window and climbing into the residence.
451 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. You know, one thing that's been missing about this case, Tim, Democrats try to say, they mentioned the Speaker of the House in Minnesota, her being killed. It was the person that did it, had some right-wing leanings, of course. But have you ever noticed with this case, they really don't talk about the perpetrator of this crime, what his political leanings are? I have no idea. There's no manifesto or nothing. And the Democrats, they try to say that this, they try to infer that this was a Republican or conservative that did this. Instead of looking at the obvious, the governor of Pennsylvania is Jewish. And I think that this was anti-Semitic violence, not necessarily someone of the conservative persuasion doing this because he's a Democrat. But you don't hear anything about the perpetrator's politics at all. And that's been awfully strange to me.
Anytime it doesn't fit the narrative, it's absolutely and completely and totally buried.
Exactly.
Memory hole.
Exactly. Joy, before we get into Chris's corner, and I wait till the end of the show to ask you about this. The theme today.
Well, we have a new sponsor of the station, Parlor Donuts. And so I got you guys dressed up as bakers in our thumbnail, driving these donut mobiles. And then a few of the songs are about sugar and sweets and eating donuts.
And cars, the cars today.
Yeah. Well, yes.
All right.
The only problem with all the donut sponsors, by the time we get here in the afternoon, the donuts are always gone.
Yeah, every Wednesday there are donuts, and they never make it to you guys.
I didn't, you know what? I'm just learning today that there are donuts every Wednesday. I had no idea.
Yeah, by the time you get to them, someone has gotten a knife, and they cut off like a little chunk one at a time, but they still eat the entire donut.
I can remember, though, that there have been some donuts here, a couple of half of them, and they were still very good. They were very fresh. So our donut sponsors make good donuts. Unfortunately, Tim and I don't get to sample.
Just bring 2 boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a little Carner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
President Trump usually doesn't get a lot of good press from Time. I have criticized him because he has put up fake Time magazine covers with himself on them. But because of his great triumph over in the Middle East, Time magazine actually did put President Trump on the cover, and there's a little controversy to it. The president doesn't necessarily like the picture of himself on Time magazine, and it's not very flattering. They tried to make him look heroic. It was a shot where he's looking up, and it's from the bottom, and he's looking off kind of whimsically. This is what the president said about his Trump magazine cover. He said, quote, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. I never like taking pictures from underneath angles, but this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? So the president not very flattered by his picture. And it does, if you see the picture, it looks like he's almost bald at the top. You don't see much hair. So as we know, pictures can editorialize just like words. And I think that the Time magazine did this on purpose, not putting the most flattering picture up about him. On his way back from the Middle East to the United States, the president had what they call a press gaggle on board. And this is what the president had to say about the media, who he's not always been great fans of. He said, quote, I want to thank the media. You've been so respectful on this deal. It was so pleasant to watch. I was on the plane for quite a while listening to the various newscasts, and they were all fair. They were talking about how incredible this is. And the love fest continues, Tim. The New York Times, who are not exactly fans of the president, they had this to say: rarely has an American president been met with such adulation abroad. And we saw the leaders there in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt were lining up to shake the president's hands. Boy, all the love and praise from the media. We will probably never see this again. So bask in it all you can, President Trump. We talked about our good friends, Robert Cahaley of the Trafalgar Group. They're one of the most accurate pollsters out there. They got it right in 2016 and 2020. Their new polling shows that Jason Mayaris, who was losing that race, has bolted. He's the incumbent attorney general. He has bolted to a 6-point lead over the embattled Jones. I forgot his first name. Jay Jones. He was the one that talked about he wanted to see his opponent or the former Speaker of the House in Virginia's kids being killed. That has melted down his campaign. We know that in the Virginia governor's race, that Winsome Sears, who has been trailing in that race since the beginning, since she won that nomination, Trafalgar's polling is showing that the race is now tied. Virginia Spanberger, the former congresswoman, she has 47.7%. Sears has 45.1%. That is a statistical tie. 1.7% are voting for someone else, and 5.6% are undecided. So Winsome Sears has pulled that into a very competitive race, and the election is just a few short weeks away. Tim, Speaker Stump Speech, what we got?
The kids will be all right.
All right. And we've got Dr. Randy Tobler of the Randy Tobler Show. We'll discuss the Charlie Kirk's widow receiving the Medal of Honor and other big news. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Larry Connors here, welcoming Tom Shaw Realtors. Nearly 100 years helping folks buy, sell acreage, homes, horse property. Call Tom, 636-432-1922. 432-1922. This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, But is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump has awarded the Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk in a live ceremony from the White House, with his wife Erica Kirk on hand to accept it.
But Charlie never missed an opportunity to remind us of the Judeo-Christian principles of our nation's founding, or to share his deep Christian faith. In his final moments, Charlie testified to the greatness of America and to the glory of our Savior, with whom he now rests in heaven.
Kirk, a crucial Trump ally and organizer of the MAGA movement, was fatally shot September 10th while speaking at an event at Utah Valley University. Today would have been his 32nd birthday. A sharp slowdown in hiring, posing a growing risk to the U.S. economy. That's according to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. And observers take it as a sign the Fed will likely cut its interest rate twice more this year.
Rising downside risks to employment have shifted our assessment of the balance of risks. As a result, we judged it appropriate to take another step toward a more neutral policy stance at our September meeting. There is no risk-free path for policy as we navigate the tension between our employment and inflation goals. This challenge was evident in the dispersion of committee participants' projections at the September meeting. And I'll stress again that these projections should be understood as representing a range of potential outcomes.
Powell said in a speech in Philadelphia that despite the federal government shutdown cutting off official economic data, the outlook for employment and inflation does not appear to have changed much since the September meeting. Wall Street has experienced one of its most profitable quarters. That's according to earnings reports from major banks out today. JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs have all seen significant profit increases driven by strong deal making, rising stock prices, and a resilient global economy. Things were mixed on Wall Street today. The Dow up by more than 200 points, but the NASDAQ down 172. More on these stories from townhall.com.
I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. You're an adult, right? But you should know gold has increased over 80% in the past 2 years. Yeah, 80%. So if you think stuffing money under your mattress or riding the roller coaster of Wall Street is your retirement plan, well, I wouldn't want to be banking on that strategy. It's time to diversify your savings and retirement assets into physical metals like gold and silver. That's where Advantage Gold comes in. When you call 800-741-GOLD, we'll send you a free gold kit that explains how rolling over your IRA or 401k into gold could not only supercharge your retirement, but maybe even help preserve your sanity. And let's be real, when's the last time you ever heard someone say, "Hey, sell all your gold"? Exactly. Never. The number's simple, 800-741-4653. And if you can spell, even better, that's 800-741-GOLD. Always consult with your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another mild but above normal night, low down to 61, and then a warm and above normal day, a high of 84 degrees as the warm and dry pattern continues. Partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy at times, but generally partly cloudy Wednesday and staying dry. Thursday, more sunshine, dry and warm again with a high of 83. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Jamie Allman here for The Barn in beautiful Columbia, Illinois, offering a unique experience with an upscale feel that's sure to make your visit unforgettable. More than 100 different bourbons, 30 vodkas, plus an expansive outdoor patio, upstairs banquet facility, seating up to 50. You can reserve that. Call for rates. Live music every Friday and Saturday. Last Queen Standing and Extreme Bar Bingo every Thursday, plus Tequila Tuesdays. I'm heading over there right now. The Barn, right there in gorgeous Columbia, Illinois.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer. Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony shoulder. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The fight over the extensions, I think, is rather ridiculous. We don't want Americans to lose coverage. And I think that it's good that the Democrats are holding the line on it.
There you go. Democrat Maine Senate candidate, some dude, praising the Schumer shutdown, saying that we should just keep holding out, basically proving the point that it's Democrats shutting the government down. I mean, Chris, I don't think he'd be rooting for it if it wasn't his party that was causing it. So I don't know. Democrats better be careful how much cheerleading they do for the shutdown here.
Yeah, they think a winning issue for them is health care. The Obamacare subsidies are due to run out at the end of the year, December 31st. Starting November 1st, people that are enrolled in these subsidies are supposed to get notices showing that their premiums are going up. So they're going to go to the wall fighting on this. They think this is an issue they can win. The president announced today that he is moving some money around in the military budget to make sure that the military is paid. They're also going to use tariff money to make sure that the Women, Infant, and Children's Program, the WIC program, gets taken care of. So that kind of takes the criticisms that the Democrats will have out of they won't be able to criticize that, of course. And I think that gives Republicans and the president even more resolve because, hey, we're making sure the women and children are getting their subsidies. And we're making sure the military is paid. We can hold out longer.
And Speaker Mike Johnson has been having some excellent press conferences pointing out some of the absolutely insane ideas that Democrats are trying to drag across the finish line by shutting the government down and demanding that we engage in $1.5 trillion of new spending. Get this little laundry list. Here's some of the worst offenses that the Democrats see. The Democrats don't want to talk about this stuff, but this is real money. Chris, they want $24.6 million for climate resilience for Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
They want $13.5 million for civic engagement, whatever that means, in Zimbabwe. They want $4 million in LGBTQI+, that's their language, not mine, democracy grants in the Balkans. And they want $3 million of desert locust reduction and $2 million for organizing feminist democratic principles in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the many ridiculous items that the Democrats want in the dirty CR that they're proposing.
It is. And of course, their main sticking point is the Obamacare subsidies. And I've said this before the last couple of weeks. The dirty little secret is that once the government is reopened, these Obamacare subsidies are going to be extended. That's a given. But they want it to be reformed. I mean, you've got Josh Hawley, Lisa Murkowski, a couple of representatives, and even Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's saying that she wants these Obamacare subsidies continue. So they're going to continue. The Democrats say that we don't trust the Republicans are going to keep their word and are going to negotiate on this. So we're going to continue to keep the government shut down.
Yeah, the Democrats want the expanded subsidies, the ones that were passed during the COVID years. They want those to continue. And those are the ones that we've talked about before that have no means testing.
Yeah.
They're available for anyone, regardless of your income strata. It completely busts the federal budget even further. And so they're arguing for something that was going to expire from COVID just to continue on forever. Because as we pointed out, once you have a government program in place, the Democrats never want it to die.
Yeah, and, it makes a good argument for the Democrats to say the Republicans are cutting people's health care, even though it's a program that was supposed to be temporary. But as I said, Republicans are more than willing to continue these Obamacare COVID-era subsidies. They just want them to be means tested, and they're being recalcitrant and don't want to negotiate. And they want to shut the government down because they think this is a good issue for them.
And as Democrats told us the previous 12 times, these types of arguments are not supposed to occur when you're passing continuing resolutions. Those are the Democrats' words. Democrats have argued a bazillion times over that the very things they're asking for now are not to be part of a continuing resolution discussion. So the Republicans are on very firm ground here. And if you watch some of the media from this past weekend, it even seems that CBS and CNN, probably not MSNBC, but CBS and CNN and NBC seem to agree with them that this is a continuing resolution argument versus I want more federal spending argument that should be done at a different time.
Yeah, and this is something they just can't spend because the Democrats, as you said, Tim, for years have been saying you don't shut the government down and hold it hostage to get your priorities. And that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. And even the Democrats can't cover for them on this. I mean, the media can't even cover for them on this.
They're having a tough time indeed. Dr. Andy Tobler will be joining us at 5:25 to break that down, talk about the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk being honored today with the Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor being bestowed on him by President Trump. We'll talk to Dr. Tobler as well about the ongoing shutdown. Who does he think is winning the argument as we are now approaching the 2-week mark and about to start setting records regarding length of shutdown itself? Chris, what are we going to review for the folks at 5:45 today?
We're going to get the final numbers on The Life of a Showgirl. That's Taylor Swift's new album. And we're going to talk about her new docuseries, The End of an Era. The Eras Tour was a 6-episode docuseries. We're going to get the numbers on that. I know Joey is waiting with bated breath on that, along with a lot of teenage and girls and young women.
I am excited what Taylor Swift has done for the movie theaters because sometimes they struggle. And she just announced her movie 2 weeks before it went into theaters. And so I know AMC was excited about that to get that injection of $33 million just almost out of nowhere.
So is she going to be up for a Best Actress Academy Award?
I don't know. She can do anything she puts her mind to.
Joey's got his shawl collar Masterpiece Theater sweater on today. Is tonight the movie review or tomorrow?
Tonight I will be going to see Good Fortune. That's where Keanu Reeves is an angel who comes down and does a body swap with Seth Rogen and Aziz Ansari. One's rich, one's poor. So I'll see if it turns out to be a good concept. Usually these body swap movies, you go in, you're like, "This no way, this is good. Why are they still doing these?" But maybe this one will be a new take on it.
No, originality.
Good Fortune will be reviewed by Joey on Friday at 5:45 p.m. You're not going to want to miss that. Without further ado, today's Speaker Stump Speech in honor of Charlie Kirk's birthday and he receiving the highest civilian honor is "The kids will be all right."
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
You know, I can sort of, cannot completely understand, of course, what she's going through, but I've lost family members before. Lost one really horrifically when I was in college, who was shot and killed. So I can kind of identify a little bit with what Erica Kirk is going through. But the fact that she was talking in this interview recently about the fact that her days are spent whipsawing wildly between the emotions of course, just paralyzing grief. You understand the kind of grief that just makes you just not want to do anything, go anywhere, speak to anybody, just curl up in a ball in a corner. And then like overwhelming joy at the effect that her late husband's wife had on the rest of humanity. Of course, she's seeing these stats and statistics coming in about tens and tens of thousands of new Turning Point USA chapter applications coming in. Tens and tens and tens of thousands. I heard it's as many as 80,000 plus membership applications coming in from new young people all across the country, basically doubling the size of Turning Point USA in 1 month since Charlie Kirk's horrific death. We knew he was having an effect. There's some people I saw this one just left-wing lunatic on Twitter, nobody famous, just some bizarre wacko saying, well, Charlie Kirk's real accomplishment was the legacy of his death, right? And that we're now all paying attention to him. I'm like, you ignorant person. Because we know his life was consequential because Donald Trump, before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, gave Charlie Kirk great credit for Donald Trump winning the White House in 2024. So to say that nobody knew who Charlie Kirk was and it's only because he was assassinated that he's somehow famous is really cynical and really trite and really small and small-minded. It is demonic, as we often might say about these people that just don't understand somebody like Charlie Kirk, who said that he wanted to be remembered for the courage to practice and live his faith. He started off as a young political junkie, right? Very involved in politics and public policy at a very young age, well, wise beyond his years, and deciding what he wanted to do while he was still a teenager, creating an organization literally out of nothing, and then becoming a young man who rubbed elbows literally with world leaders like President Trump, before the age of 30. An amazing life, multiple lives well lived by the age of 31 and a half years old. So he had a massive effect on people. Has that effect been magnified? Yes, because of the sheer shock and horror at his death, and also because he's inspired tens and tens and tens of thousands, dare I say hundreds of thousands of people to not let his life have been lived in vain, and it hasn't been, because there will be more Charlie Kirks. There will be more great young leaders because he has inspired them to be so. I found one of them online today, and it's why I say that the kids will be all right. Because of my personal experiences with young people, I'm very blessed in what I do. Get to speak with all of you every single day here on this awesome, independently owned local radio station. Number one for live and local conservative talk, little News Talk STL, which is becoming bigger and bigger every year, entering our 5th year now. And with all the government affairs work that I'm blessed to do, I get to speak with young people in Missouri, in the Midwest, and all across the country. And I'm telling you, despite what the media might say, and despite some of our periodic despondency about the state of the nation, there are a lot of amazing young people. I have 2 of them in my life, in my house. My wonderful daughters are very spiritually and theologically driven. They have extremely massive faith, dare I say, much stronger than mine was at their age. And they're involved and they're active. And there's so many people like them. And I found one of them online today as I was doing a little research for the show. Charlie Kirk was very close to Hillsdale College. For those of you who don't know Hillsdale, go to hillsdale.edu. You can subscribe to their little they send out these pamphlets every other month or so. They're really amazing. It's called Imprimus. And they'll feature famous writers like Molly Hemingway and Victor Davis Hanson and others. And Charlie Kirk was a huge friend of Hillsdale College, which is a conservative, libertarian-leaning college that provides young people a fantastic education. This young lady, Quinn, I'm going to probably butcher her last name, Quinn Delamater, I think is her name, Quinn Delamater. She'll graduate next year in 2026. She is I love this, a rhetoric and media major with a journalism minor at Hillsdale. She's the program director for WRFH, Radio Free Hillsdale. She's a contributor at the Collegian and an active member of the Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority. She loves making matcha lattes, being an avid newsreader, and skiing in Colorado. She wrote a little homage to Charlie Kirk in the days following his horrific assassination. And I want to read some pieces of you from it so you know that the kids will be all right. And I think Quinn is not an anecdote. I don't think she's a one-off. I don't think she's an exception. I think she's the rule of these younger generations as they realize, after having gone through the COVID years, government's not the answer. There is something greater than themselves. And turning to faith and spirituality is a great way to have a life well lived, like Charlie Kirk's. Quinn said she was in the Plaster Auditorium, which is actually named after the Plasters in Missouri, at a faculty roundtable lecture when she learned that Charlie Kirk had been shot. She said every student was glued to their phone, incessantly refreshing social media, scouring the internet for an update. A somber mood encompassed the area. Most audience members looked distraught and in pure disbelief. The fate of Charlie Kirk was hanging in suspension. It felt incomprehensible. Near the end of the round table, a student approached the microphone. He only wanted to talk about Charlie Kirk. At the end of the hour, a voice in the room called out that Charlie Kirk had passed away. Quinn said her heart sank and her eyes filled with tears. She said she wasn't alone. The woman right next to her was crying deeply. A mournfulness filled the auditorium. The moments that followed were ones of silence to honor Kirk. Quinn said she never heard a room so quiet that was filled with so many people at the same time. You could hear a pin drop, quite literally. A collective sadness gripped the atmosphere. Mere hours after Charlie Kirk's murder, hundreds of Hillsdale students gathered in Christ Chapel to pray for his family. She then goes on to recount some of the days and instances after that. Quinn ends by saying and reminding us that Charlie Kirk was grateful to God every single day and lived his life in an unashamed testimony to that. Wherever he went, he shared the gospel. He cared about politics, but more than that, he cared about serving his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Kirk died at the cost of his free speech, something we as Hillsdale students are incredibly fortunate to be able to practice here with zero repercussions. The best way, Quinn says, we can honor Kirk is never forget our gratitude and practice humility in all that we do. The day we stop thanking God and start attributing ourselves with credit is the day we let Kirk's legacy die. May we never cease to remember God's graciousness and goodness to us, and may that ever embolden us to carry the torch of Kirk's mission. And it's because of young women like Quinn Delamater and my daughters and so many other young people that I have blessed to have interactions with for the last many years that I say that, yes, I do indeed believe the kids will be all right. And that's the stump speech for today.
To his Hillsdale shout-outs, when my wife started college in 1992, her grandmother gave her a subscription to Imprimis. We still get that magazine every month to this day. And Reagan Reese, who we had on last week, she's the Daily Caller White House correspondent. She is a proud Hillsdale graduate.
Indeed, and a wonderful young woman as well. On that note, let's wrap up this segment, prepare for our next one. Chris and I are going to speak with Dr. Randy Tobler next. He's got the prescription for what ails us on a definitely somber and thoughtful and yet hopeful day. Dr. Randy Tobler joining us next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another mild but above normal night, low down to 61, and then a warm and above normal day, a high of 84 degrees as the warm and dry pattern continues. Partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy at times, but generally partly cloudy Wednesday and staying dry. Thursday, more sunshine, dry and warm again with a high of 83. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Yeah, the speaker in his speaker's stump speech, of course, gave a shout out to News Talk STL. We are live and local, #1 for conservative talk. And, you know, I like my banking and do my business local as well. I don't want some big out of state conglomerate or just where I'm just an account number. I want folks that I do business with who actually know my name, understand the community, and who are invested right here in St. Louis. And that's why I've been banking with Royal Banks of Missouri for over 20 years now. Royal Banks has been around for more than 60, helping families and businesses right here in St. Louis. They just opened a brand new headquarters in University City last month, right there at Olive and McKnight. I have been in the building. It is absolutely beautiful. You should go visit. And, you know, they're bringing their home base right back to where it all started, right there in beautiful University City. Oh, and here's some big news. On September 17th, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates for the first time this year. That could be a great chance to look at refinancing or other options. And Royal Banks can walk you through what makes the most sense for you. And speaking of good news, in September, Royal Banks was recognized as the 23rd fastest growing private company in St. Louis and the fastest growing bank in the region, according to the St. Louis Business Journal's Fast 50 Awards. They've got 16 locations across St. Louis to serve you in St. Charles, Illinois, and Northeast Missouri. They're still locally owned, still independent, and here to stay. So go to the website, go to the internet, check them out at royalbanksofmo.com. That's royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This December 13th, join wreaths across America at Belle Reve Gardens Cemetery as we remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach our children the value of freedom. Help us lay remembrance wreaths on the graves of our fallen heroes. Sponsor a wreath, volunteer, or bring your family to this meaningful tribute to our veterans, because every hero deserves to be remembered. Learn more and sponsor a wreath. Visit newstalkstl.com.
Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coating is intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
And Scott, do you want to say just a couple of words about that, please?
President Obama had a big opportunity during his term, which he wasted. Many governments in Latin America went center-right, and the U.S. ignored them. We are not going to ignore our allies. We're using our economic strength to create peace, and it is much better to form an economic bridge with our allies, people who want to do the right thing, than have to have shoot at narco gunboats. We think that this is an opportunity for the Argentinian people, and that President Milei is the one to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was some of the news that was overshadowed today. And that's Scott Bessent there, Treasury Secretary, talking about the recent visit or welcoming Argentina's President Javier Milei to the White House. Busy White House today, Chris. We got a lot going on there. And Chris, that seems to be the theme of the Trump administration is building economic bridges instead of firing bullets. Indeed.
Well, you know what they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. You know, you should have economic prosperity instead of war. That's what we all strive to happen. Also today, big news, Tim, there's another Venezuelan boat was blown out of the water again today. The president announced that on Truth Social.
Yeah, Venezuela, be more like Argentina. And now we got the prescription for what ails us. Let's check in with our next guest.
Gentlemen, we're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
As he does on most Tuesday afternoons, Dr. Randy Tobler with us now, host of the Randy Tobler Show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. here at News Talk STL. Doc, good afternoon. Welcome back to the program.
Great to be with you.
Dr. Tobler, first thing we want to talk to you about today is the fact that it has been a month since Charlie Kirk was unfortunately taken from this earth. He is, of course, smiling down on all of us from his place now in heaven. And he was honored today on the White House grounds by the president with the highest civilian honor. And just to show how much of an effect he had in life, Dr. Tobler, how amazing is it that he seems to have affected hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of more that are inspired by his legacy in life, and that he's not dead necessarily. His legacy lives on amongst us.
It's really amazing. I think this was such a seminal episode in our country's, I think, reemergence as a constitutional republic with traditional values that still put some stock in the 10 Commandments, marriage, and, individual responsibility with community support. Just all the things that I think we know make America great. And as we're making it great again, I think people in the light of that episode, Tim, sort of had to make a stand, right? I think a lot of people that may have been equivocating in public conversations with their families, their friends, looked at that, and I think more than those who landed on the progressive side of the fence, I think a lot more landed on the conservative side of the fence, and it was sort of one of those "here I stand" moments. I cannot ally myself with any movement that in any way, either tacitly or overtly, endorses the assassination of someone who celebrates one of the most precious American principles, and that is the free and open and vigorous debate in the public square. So I think it helped define us better individually and collectively as a society.
Dr. Tobler, I have the great honor of appearing on your Wake Up Missouri show based there in Columbia. And as we had our discussion this morning, you mentioned that you were going to be on Newsmax. Tell us about that appearance.
Well, first of all, I have to tell you, Chris, I don't think we can afford to have you on anymore. I mean,
okay.
It's outlandish, the contract.
I need to lower my fee.
It's unbelievable. No, I don't know. I don't know. They asked me to do a hit now and then, and I think, like I told Vic this morning, some people are the second string quarterbacks, the third string quarterbacks, the guy that they bring in that's got a dad bod and was a football player 20 years. I'm not only the fifth string, I'm like the sixth thread. So when they can't find anyone else on a busy Tuesday, they ask Randy to come in. But it was a lot of fun.
What'd you talk about?
A lot of fun. Well, we started out talking about North Carolina and how about they're about ready to, I think, reclaim a district that, while they should be able to retain the other Republican districts, there's one that I think a Democrat probably is going to stand to lose if they redistrict it right. And we just talked about it in general and about sort of our experience in Missouri. I mentioned that about how, not only there are legal challenges, there's now that initiative petition, the referendum. Is that going to make it over the hurdle with enough signatures in time, within 90 days of the law passing? And then when and would it be on next August ballot? I didn't get that far, but I just talked about the many obstructions, but also about the fact that whine and cry and moan as they may, the Democrats are facing some serious challenges in terms of, I think, this midterm and just breezing through like they have historically as a minority.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Tobler, Donald Trump cemented himself as one of the best presidents regarding foreign policy interventions yesterday when all 20 living hostages were returned home. The Abraham Accords, of course, signed during Trump 1.0, led to this new Mideast peace deal. We'll see if it holds or not. But it can't we can't underscore enough, can we, that this is a momentous turn. It's nothing that's ever been done before. And even MSNBC's Joe Scarborough had to admit that this was an extraordinary day for the world stage, and Donald Trump is astride it, isn't he?
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, how finally, a few lone voices in the Democrat wilderness are coming out and just having to, how much it hurts them. I mean, it just absolutely hurts them. But they have to admit that this was really an extension of what was an original stroke of genius in his first term. I think those Abraham Accords, as I call it, the Middle East Neighborhood Watch model, is such a pivotal thing, because finally you've got basically these states in the nation in that area that are just rich with wealth beyond imagine, which means they have power and influence beyond imagine. And I think they've for too long sort of stood aside and thought they could just look the other way and ignore the carnage going on in their backyard. And then they finally realized, hey, this is to again, in any way, shape, or form, ally with people that can be as murderous and as just barbarous as those Hamas folks were, finally brought pressure to bear to say, enough, stand down. I think the important thing now is going to be when, I don't think it's an if, I think it's when Hamas refuses to disarm, well, they already have said that, and refuse to stand down from leadership. What will the neighboring Arab states say when Israel has the okay to go back in? I give that go back in scenario 75-80% chance, because I think we've restocked the pond with terrorists from Israel. I've talked to several of my Jewish friends, some of whom have adult children over there as we speak, and they're very, very skeptical of releasing 2,000 bad guys onto the other side again. And if anyone thinks that isn't going to rekindle the fires that are probably still smoldering in Hamas, I think you're kidding yourself. So that'll be the next thing. Will Donald Trump use the strength through power scenario and follow through and have to do just a little more cleanup work before Hamas finally gets the message? You know, it's like when your kids don't make the bed, and the first time you just prevent them from playing the baseball game Friday, and then they make their bed for a while, and then they stop making it again, and then I think we'll maybe take a baseball game for a whole weekend away from you. You're not going to the traveling tournament. And finally, it's just like, I'm taking your ball and glove and bat away from you, and you're going to sit down and do some math stories. Finally, they get the message. This may just be round one of a little prolonged smackdown on Hamas.
Dr. Tobler, the CDC and its advisory panel, they voted to undo action by the Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy that removed vaccines from the immunization schedule for pregnant women. Is this a good or bad thing?
I think it's a good thing that they revoked his arbitrary, removal of that. Look, there's no doubt that especially, pregnant women are at a special risk of real severe respiratory problems. I've seen patients during COVID. I saw them in the ICU much more than I would see them during influenza. And I think it should be a discussion between the doc and the patient, and to have a little bit of a support with it still being on the schedule. It's not mandatory. Patients can decline it. I think it's at least a good opportunity to have the discussion. That's one of those very special groups that are especially vulnerable, just like elderly people and people with multiple medical conditions and pulmonary problems, immunosuppressed people, for instance. So it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I think that the tea bag should at least be on the cart should they want to drink from it.
Speaking to Dr. Randy Tobler, he's at Randy Tobler, MD on Twitter X. The Randy Tobler Show every Saturday morning here at News Talk STL, 6 to 9 a.m. And then he co-hosts a Mid-Missouri show, Wake Up Missouri, 93.9 The Eagle out of Columbia land. If you're heading through Mid-Mo, you can tune him in the mornings. Dr. Tobler, we're approaching, I believe, the 2-week mark of the what many are calling, especially on the Republican side of the aisle, the Schumer shutdown. And every time the Democrats think they have a new talking point to harass the American people with, the Trump administration takes away their bright, shiny object. First it was, all the poor people are going to die and suffer in the streets. And the Trump administration is like, oh, don't worry. We're going to fund all the food stamps and the WIC programs and all that. Then it was, the military isn't going to get paid. And apparently J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth came up with a plan for that. Doc, we're starting to realize that maybe the government being shut down isn't such a horrible thing, but we do need to get it reopened. Who do you think's winning the war of words currently as we hit the 2-week mark?
Well, I don't think that there could be a better time for Mike Johnson to be the speaker than now. I've never seen a guy that so calmly, coolly, collectedly, and so well messages a very important message. And he just keeps cutting through the noise and all of the shrapnel that the distraction, if you will, that the Democrats are throwing out there. And he just keeps saying, I don't know what the problem is. We passed the bill to fund the military. We passed the bill to open the government. I don't know what's wrong with those Senate Democrats. Do you know, American people? I mean, that's pretty much what he's asking. And at the same time, when he needs a little cover, he's getting it from the administration on admittedly vulnerable areas. I think we can all admit we need a systemic fix so that when there is a shutdown, and there will be in the future, that the military is protected too. I mean, if Congress people should get a salary, I mean, for crying out loud, the military should get one too, and that would fix it. But more than that, I think this is a time when the next step needs to be for Johnson and his Republican colleagues. There's a lot of doctors in that caucus. I mean, Bob Onder's one of them, and I've talked to Bob, and I know he's got some ideas, and so do a lot of them there. They ought to start to leak out, because the last remaining card, if you will, the Trump card, no pun intended, that the Democrats have, is the healthcare thing, right? They're posting on X, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, my constituent is going to go from $1,000 a month for their family of four, and they earn $80,000 a year, up to $5,000 a month. Armageddon. Well, you know what? That is an effective talking point. There's no doubt about it, because on its surface, it pulls at the heartstrings. And then, if you get to thinking about it and you start to unpack that, you realize, whoa, wait a minute. So have we, the American people, the other, 150 other million people who are not on Obamacare and are paying the taxes to subsidize that, not only to help those people with their premium, but on the backside, helping the insurance companies? I think that a lot of folks are saying, wait a minute, they're only paying that much per year, and I'm paying like 2 or 3 times that a year, and I'm paying taxes. And it's not to denigrate people on Obamacare, but I think the secret weapon and the magic lane to success here, I don't think we're going to see it, I wish we would, is for the Republicans to have a news conference to say, you know what, between taxpayer subsidy and your premium, the average premium paid by an Obamacare recipient is, let's pick a number, $12,000. What if we were to give you, let's take back some of that from American taxpayers. What if we were to take back 4,000 or 5,000 of that and give the rest to you to go ahead and pay? And the numbers would have to work out to where it was balanced, revenue neutral at least, if not saving some money from the present spend per family, per capita. And what if we were to say, we're going to give you people that money, and you go shop the marketplace? You want to buy a direct primary care contract? You want to buy a fee for service? You want to go to your regular doctor and say, hey, don't submit my stuff to insurance. I'm just going to pay you cash. What's it going to be? And then go buy yourself a catastrophic policy, because we Republicans recognize that insurance should be insurance, not what it is now, which is prepaid, rationed, government or insurance company determines what you're going to get for your money. I think that there's a way to communicate that in a Mike Johnson, Donald Trump, who knows kind of way, that says, look, we're going to give you the money we're spending on you, and you're going to have choice in your health care. It's going to be about you. We're not taking it away. We're expanding your choices. You're getting more value for your premium dollar, and it won't cost you any more. I think that could financially be argued, and certainly rhetorically. They need to get out there in front of this issue, because that's the last issue that I think has some leverage from the Democrat standpoint.
Dr. Tobler, it's being reported that the rate of home births in the U.S. keeps climbing after the pandemic. They say it's the distrust of the traditional medical system and demand for more personalized maternity care. About 1% of U.S. live births happened in 2019. That rate is now 1.5%, more than 1.5%. My question for you, are you doing more house calls and delivering babies?
Yeah, I'm not delivering babies anymore. I'm doing a general medical practice, direct primary care practice. I would not embark on that kind of a practice, just because I've seen, my own daughter with her last baby. I mean, she delivered at MU and had it was her second baby. Yeah, it was her second baby during COVID. Delivered at MU, where they do great care. She was living in Columbia at that time, and perfectly normal delivery. Everything happened, and she cut loose with a massive hemorrhage. She won't mind me saying that. And because she makes comments about home births after this, she said, Dad, I had the kind of delivery that you hear about at home. And it's, Norman Rockwell and everyone's giggly and happy and everyone's great. Had she not been in the hospital, I don't know what would have happened. And I'm not exaggerating. That's just one of many, many stories where, were it not for a hospital nearby, I'm talking about like you want to do a birthing center and have a home-like birth in some kind of a very crunchy atmosphere, in the same building where you've got emergency and acute care available. That's fine. And a lot of places are beginning to do that. But man, to deliver at home in the boonies without transfusions and resources, I don't know. Pray hard, because there's going to be some casualties from this, sadly. Moms and babies.
Wise words.
Indeed. Wise words indeed. That's Dr. Randy Tobler. He's at Randy Tobler, MD. He's the host of the Randy Tobler Show. Get more of that wit and wisdom every Saturday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. here at News Talk STL. Doc, thanks for everything as always. We'll look forward to speaking with you hopefully next week.
Thank you, sir.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, indeed. And just like that, 5:44 in the PM. Woo! Fantastic Tuesday show indeed.
Yeah, I agree with Tobler. I don't know if I'll never have a baby, but I don't think I would want to be doing the home birth thing if I didn't have to. I'd want to be in the hospital with doctors surrounding me and all the medical equipment.
Indeed. All right. We podcast every program. I want to mention that because maybe you're not able to listen to the 4 o'clock hour or the 5 o'clock hour. You can't listen to the whole thing. Well, you can podcast the show. Just subscribe to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show wherever you if you're a podcaster, you just get our show the same exact way. Every single broadcast turned into a podcast by executive producer Joey V as soon as the show is over. We got one segment left. Chris, what are you talking about? What are you bringing up when we come back?
We're going to get the latest on Taylor Swift album and her docuseries, and a new book has been written, and Americans who own the most guns aren't hunters, veterans, or cops. I'll tell you who they are on Chris's on the end of the show.
Fantastic. Following that, Larry Connors USA. All that is straight ahead here at 101.9 94.1. You're listening to News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
It's me like this go. You're too good. What can you do? Can't seem to control myself. So how can I talk to you?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another mild but above normal night, low down to 61, and then a warm and above normal day, a high of 84 degrees as the warm and dry pattern continues. Partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy at times, but generally partly cloudy Wednesday and staying dry. Thursday, more sunshine, dry and warm again with a high of 83. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Borselli Show.
Hi, it's Ken. Vic and I are always talking about how we can get away from our dependence on China. Well, with regard to minerals, we could have an answer. We'll talk about that Wednesday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
I conveniently saw a story this morning that is perfect for what I'm going to tell you about regarding the Wallner home selling team. They said that this is the prime week for real estate. I don't know who determines these things, what experts do that or not, but you know what? This may be the prime week, according to somebody somewhere. It's always a great time to get a hold of the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Rodney and Jen Wallner standing by to work with you and your family at 314-810-SOLD. You know why it's always a good time to reach out to the Wallners if you need to talk to them about real estate needs or need to sell your home? Because they're going to offer you a flexible commission plan. It's going to be tailored to your family-specific needs, not some cookie-cutter boilerplate model. They'll sit down with you, go paragraph by paragraph if you want, and make sure it fits exactly what you need from your real estate agents of Rodney and Jen Wallner. They are a husband and wife team that provides you a unique family perspective, not just that of one agent. And now you get 3 for the price of 1 because Jamie Ullman is working diligently with the Wallners as well. There's no obligation or any long-term commitment when you sign up with the Wallners by calling them at 314-810-SOLD. If you need to change your mind and your circumstances are different at any point in time during the arrangement, you can walk away. There's no penalty. There's no questions asked. You come back whenever you're ready to rock and roll. The Wallner's licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. They can help you in both the Show Me State and the land of Lincoln. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team, today for a free listing consultation. You will sell your home with this top producing real estate team of Rodney and Jen Wallner. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, firearms enthusiast, looking for a family and veteran-owned shop with a wide selection of products and services? Head to DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green. DG Firearms has been your one-stop shop for custom ARs, Cerakoting, laser engraving, gunsmithing, suppressors, ammo, and reloading supplies. DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green, and online at dgfirearmsllc.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you'll be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Mr. President, on Gaza, how long will it take Hamas to disarm, and can you guarantee that is going to happen?
Well, they're going to disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you. But if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. Okay. Now, we did something monumental. We got the hostages back. That was the first thing we had to do, above all else.
5:50 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, and Trump being Trump. Hey, I don't have to tell you, which you shouldn't tell them. It was a stupid question, too, when she asked, can you guarantee Hamas is going to disarm themselves?
We're not going to give people war plans in a press gaggle.
Exactly. You know, last week I talked about it, I think, on Chris's Corner. The email messages for education department employees were automatically changed with a partisan message saying that the shutdown was because of Donald Trump. The Trump administration pushing the limits as always. They're pushing the limits again. About a half dozen airports around the country, Tim, are refusing to play a message from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem that blames the Democrats for the shutdown and related air travel delays. They're saying that it violates policies of the Hatch Act. So I love they just pushed the stuff to the limit like that. I absolutely love it. Here's something that's kind of a little surprising. A plurality of Americans, 80% Republican, 40% independent, and 21% Democrat, want Congress to reduce the deficit mostly or exclusively by cutting spending rather than hiking taxes, according to a new Gallup poll conducted before the current government shutdown. However, increasing income taxes on the wealthiest Americans is still widely popular, with 63% favoring it. But still surprised me. Most people want to cut spending rather than raising taxes. So
I think
are we making progress?
Well, you know, when you shock the system like Biden did with trillions of dollars of spending, and Chris, people saw the immediate reaction. Everything got more expensive.
Exactly.
I think that's still fresh in people's minds. Like, when we print money, it means less and things cost more. I think people had a real economics 101 lesson the last 5 years.
That's a very good point there. And The Life of a Showgirl, the album sold a record 4.002, we'll just round it to 4 million equivalent album units in the U.S. in week one, breaking a record that was set by Adele's 25 in 2015. And Joey, you should have corrected me on this. I was thinking that the docuseries had already happened. Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, The End of an Era. It's a 6-episode behind-the-scenes docuseries that will be streaming on December 12th. It has not come out yet. It chronicles the tour's development, impact, and inner workings. It's streaming on Disney Plus, along with her concert film, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, The Final Show.
We got to get our tissues ready. End of the Eras Tour.
So is she giving? I mean, I heard them talking about this a couple of weeks ago, that since she's getting married to Travis Kelce, that she may give up touring and give up the music business and want to have babies and stay at home. And the feminists had a conniption fit because of that.
I could see it being really beneficial for her to perform at the Sphere in Las Vegas, do a residency for a year. I don't know.
Don't
She
you have
could
to
sell
be
it
like
out.
in your 60s, though? You know, you have to be out of the music business in the top for like 30 or 40 years before you do Vegas, right?
Well, the Sphere is different because they have the Backstreet Boys doing theirs, and then the Grateful Dead with John Mayer did theirs. And I know No Doubt will be getting back together with Gwen Stefani to do it. And the
Okay.
Eagles did it. So if you can sell tickets, they'll gladly accept you. And it's a totally different venue, and she could sleep at her own bed, probably go back and forth from California to Las Vegas if she wanted to nightly. I bet she would sell that thing out every night that she decides to perform.
Probably.
I agree.
Mhm.
All a bunch of 20-something and young teenage girls.
Now the movie, Joey, was that just a one weekend thing?
Yeah.
And that was it. But she made $1 bazillion from that too, right?
She made a few $1 million. Yeah, it was like 33 local. I don't know what it did globally, but
Yeah.
it was just lyric videos mostly for her album. And it was such an event for her fans that they said, we got to go.
There was
It's
these
nothing I would sit
There was
through.
these ladies they interviewed. They were in New York City, and they were like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, we flew up here from Dallas to watch this movie about Taylor Swift doing performances on stage." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, that's a lot more devotion than I have for anybody in the performance land."
Now,
So-
Tim or Joey, her album beat out Adele's record. Now, Adele was the hottest thing going a few years ago. She seems to have cooled off considerably. Why? Because I don't follow popular culture. What happened to her? And could Taylor Swift go the route of Adele?
I think Adele did settle down, had kids, took
Yeah.
Ozempic. She looks very skinny
Mm.
now, got married. Adele, she just doesn't need the money after
Mm.
selling all those albums.
Now, I remember, I don't read the tabloids, but every time you see the gossip and everything, I know there was a big kerfuffle with her because she was dating some black guy who like didn't work, and everybody thought that he was like
Living the
using her
dream.
that he was like everybody was thinking that he was just like using her, but she was supposedly like head over heels with this gentleman. Is that who she has settled down? She's married him.
I haven't kept up with the tabloids of Adele, but I did go to Comic-Con this past weekend in downtown St. Louis, and I just kept telling my girl, when are you going to get famous so I can be your autograph jockey? There's always someone that sits at the table with the famous person who collects all the money and gets
Ah.
the autograph people ready and calms them down. I want to be that. I just
You want to
wanna
be in the entourage.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you going to be like security too?
I could be secure. Maybe. Give me a taser.
There, a
I'll
taser.
protect you, baby.
I want to be one of those guys. And remember the famous HBO miniseries Entourage?
Yeah, you could be
Yeah,
Turtle.
I could be Turtle. I could easily be Turtle.
And
I'd
I have-
fit right in.
And I have no idea
It was
what
this.
you guys
It was.
are talking
It was.
about.
It was a fake. It was they made a mini series about a famous movie star
Okay.
and his crew.
Okay.
The guys, Chris, that
Okay.
just hang around him, and they had adventures that I can't talk about on the radio.
What they
So,
need, what a good concept of that would be, with just all the hangers on for the rap stars. 'Cause
Same-
they always
same
have,
concept,
They
yeah.
always have about 20 or 25 guys that they knew from the hood
Yeah.
and grew up with.
Like, what do
They-
you do?
They do nothing but just hang out with them. And then after like 5-6 years, they're broke. And that's the reason, because they're just handing out money.
Spend all their money.
All right. The Americans who own the most guns, they aren't hunters or veteran groups. You know what they are, Tim? They're white evangelical Christians, according to a new book called In Guns We Trust, The Unholy Trinity of White Evangelicals, Politics, and Firearms. The author is an ex-evangelical who left an ex-evangelical who left the movement over guns and social issues. He said, quote, progressive Christians are working to reclaim the narrative around God and guns by organizing buyback events and turning AR-15 rifles and other weapons into garden tools.
So he's a self-loathing person.
Exactly.
Yes.
Good luck with that. All right, Larry Connors USA is up next. And Larry's going to be talking about Obama has a hard time discussing how the government should not be weaponized against political opponents. And Letitia James is defiant about fighting bank fraud charges. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Staff's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere. And we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peter's, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Pond Trail, and the original Stefanina's in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at staffspizza.com. Staff's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Duck season opens November 1st in Missouri's North Zone, and deer rifle season starts November 15th. Hunters, are you ready? Mike Ferguson here for Whistle Pig Outdoors. They have everything you need. Stock up on premium ammo, upgrade your decoy spread, and stay dry with top-quality, field-tested waders. Whistle Pig also has big game clothing, deer stands, blinds, and scents. From waterfowl to whitetail, Whistle Pig Outdoors has you covered on North Main in Troy or at whistlepigoutdoors.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the Great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing, with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270B.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump has awarded the Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk in a live ceremony from the White House.
So we hold his memory in our hearts forever. Every single day of this administration, we will continue to carry out the mission for which he lived. And he really did. He lived for this country. He lived for his wife and his family, but he lived for this country too. In Charlie's honor, we will continue like we have been to fight, and to win. We're going to win so much.
Kirk was a crucial Trump ally and an organizer of the MAGA movement. He was fatally shot September 10th while holding one of his college events at Utah Valley University. The U.S. military has struck another suspected drug-carrying boat in the waters off of Venezuela.
President Trump said 6 people aboard the vessel were killed in the strike and no U.S. forces were harmed. It's the 5th deadly strike in the Caribbean as the Trump administration has asserted it's treating alleged drug traffickers as unlawful combatants. On Capitol Hill, some Republicans want more information from the White House on the legal justification and details of the strikes. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A mixed bag on Wall Street. The Dow was up by 202 points. The Nasdaq suffered a 172-point decline. Julie Walker reports on the latest comments from the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell on rate cuts.
Powell's comments Tuesday in a speech to the National Association of Business Economics suggests that the Fed will likely cut its key interest rate twice more this year.
Based on the data we do have, it's fair to say that the outlook for employment and inflation does not appear to have changed much since our September meeting.
That's when the Fed reduced its key rate for the first time this year. Powell also says although some important government data has been delayed due to the shutdown, they routinely review a wide variety of public and private sector data that have remained available. I'm Julie Walker.
More of these stories at townhall.com.
This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's something about the feel of a gold coin in your hand and the way the light reflects off its intricate details that has always captivated me. Nick Grovich, AmFed's owner, turned that same passion into his livelihood. Nick began collecting coins as a teen, and that interest grew into a nationally respected business offering only the finest quality coins at the most competitive prices. But the truth is that although Nick is a rare coin dealer, he doesn't believe in rare coins. Rare coins do not make sound investments, but they do make dealers a lot of money. See, that's part of what I respect about him. AmFed specializes in buying non-performing numismatic coins and turning them into gold or silver investments that provide liquidity and perform competitively against the market. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another mild but above normal night, low down to 61, and then a warm and above normal day, a high of 84 degrees as the warm and dry pattern continues. Partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy at times, but generally partly cloudy Wednesday and staying dry. Thursday, more sunshine, dry and warm again with a high of 83. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Stand by for Larry Connors USA.
Larry Connors USA.